to another episode. My name is Dean Vassy. You can find me on X at hashtag Kangas, Instagram hashtag Kangaroos Podcast. Tonight, I welcome back Mark. Hello to this, going to be probably a little bit of a somber and negative show. Mark, we're back to a club in crisis again, and it's been a very strange 4 weeks since a bipolar team. I thought we had turned a corner last week. We were talking about it. We worked a few things out against West Coast in the last quarter, and it's continued. But then we produce a performance like that and it sets us back again. We talked about this off air. Where are we at, Mark? I've got no idea now.
I appreciate you warning the audience before I started talking, Dean, given my incredible negativity for the 10 minutes we talked about Prody coming on. I'll be honest with you. For the first time in the last 5 or 6 years, I don't even know where we're at. Like 2 weeks ago against West Coast, I was angry and thinking, where's our system? That was a confusing game, as in we did nothing until the last quarter. Then we were about to lose, so we attacked. We relied on a couple of experienced players to get us over the line. I thought that was despite winning, I thought that was a putrid performance against West Coast. And then I thought it was an outstanding performance despite the loss against Fremantle. But as I said to you pre-show starting, I think Fremantle are a bit like us. I think they rely on talent more than system, and they can get exposed. And that's why I thought Ross Lyon pushed them so closely on the weekend. And then we had a great game against Carlton where, well, if you can beat them in the contest, they've got nothing else. So we had 2 quarters where we destroyed them in that area, and then we're unbeatable. Once we dominate in close to that point, and the other side's not very good other than that, like Carlton are, so they rely on the same thing we do, then it's an easy win. Soon as we play a side that can match us in close but kill us outside with both strategy and skill, then we get massacred. And that's my big concern right now is it's not. I don't feel like it's a sustainable game plan to be we win the contest or we get smashed. And some teams can lose the contest to us but be so good on the outside they beat us. So that's my big worry. We've done enough recently to be close in games, but the reality is we just fell over the line against Richmond and West Coast. We beat a Melbourne team that was really down, and we beat a Carlton team that was massively down. And we've been close to a few other sides, but the reality is we're 4 wins and a draw, and we're heading towards a season end where we'll be lucky to get 6 or 7 wins again. So it's not a great result, really.
No, I mean, there's got to be questions on the attitude of the players that showed up on the weekend. Minus 25 in contested possessions, pressure rating of 150s during the game. The league
32 tackles for the game.
I think it was 40 in the end. I think we got a few at the end. So it was minus 16 in tackles. Hawthorn laid more tackles.
All right, I apologise to everyone on social media where I've been saying 32 tackles. That's been a lie. But yes, absolutely.
Yeah, it was a tough contest against the Blues last weekend, but no excuses. These players get paid a lot of money to get themselves up. And you beat Carlton, in another 5 minutes, you probably would have lost that game. But it seems like some of these players might be drinking their own bathwater with the attitude they had on the weekend, Mark. Is that fair to say?
Well, we had plenty of media coverage for the week, that's for sure. Talking about the tide had turned and everything else. And I didn't mind that. I was enjoying reading it. I was loving it. But if you're going to talk like that, you absolutely... So when you say we'll never go back to what we did a year ago when we played Hawthorn, they beat us by 120 points, whatever. Now, admittedly, they were true because they didn't beat us by over 120 points this time. I don't think that was the message they were trying to send. They were trying to send we're not going to get annihilated by anyone again. So
it was the same shit as last year.
To be honest, it was the same shit as the last 5 years. It was.
Yeah, I know. We can't compete against them.
I mean, if Clarko had turned up to the press conference and said, we just need some nourishment next week, it wouldn't have shocked me. Like it felt no different to what it did when we were saying Noble has to go 4 years ago. And then you go, well, if Clarko had coached 4 premierships, he'd be copping the same level of pressure. Other than we've got a couple more wins and overall, if you look at the overall season, there is signs of improvement. It's the speed of the improvement and the technique in the way we're playing. So it's the method that is the problem for us.
Yeah.
If we're not winning the contest, it feels like we don't have much else. And so there's when we lose possession, it just feels like we really struggle. So I'm not. I'll be absolutely honest. I'm not even going to try and sit here and go, I'm an expert in modern AFL tactics. I'm just talking about as just a normal supporter watching. It just feels like if we don't win contests, we get smashed. And it hasn't really changed for 2 years. And he comes out and says the same thing in the press conference. That's our strength. We got beaten there, so we got slaughtered.
Yeah.
It's going to have to be. We're going to have to be a bit more nuanced as an AFL team that wants to be top 4 at some point than that.
Yeah, look, I mean, in the midfield, LDU and Parker battled pretty hard. But outside of that, Powell probably had his worst game of the year. It's fair to say he did by a fair way. I thought he had turned a corner because he was best on ground against Carlton the week before.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but on the weekend he went missing. I think even before the concussion, Wardlaw was battling with form. He had 2 touches.
Terrible.
Yeah,
and has done for a few weeks. Like, real look, the concussion. Personally, I love to see him just put on ice this season because I don't think we've got anything to gain by playing him for the rest of the year. I'd rather just see him rest, get himself super fit, get his soft tissue issues worked out, and get himself in a great spot heading into the pre-season.
Well, it's 3 concussions in 35 games for Wardlaw, and that's a big worry at the moment. So his future's in real doubt.
Absolutely. I cannot see any value in playing him again this year. The risk involved in that is madness. So hopefully, Clarko said he'll be back in a couple of weeks. I hope the medical staff say there's no Clarko, that's not happening. We're going to rest him till next year.
We've got to work something out with because it's quite dangerous what he's going through.
We've got enough problems. We don't need him being put at risk. Like, psychologically for the club, that it would be an absolutely catastrophic as well. Apart from him personally, he's clearly a great person. They've got to look after him. Anyway, I'm sure that'll happen, and I've got my doubts whether he'll play again this year. The problem I've got at the moment is the improvements we're making. So you think about it, Jack Darling, Caleb Daniel, and who's the midfielder?
Parker.
Who's the other old? Parker. They've all made improvements to us, and I'm sure they've made improvements on field, no doubt. And then you think about all the guys that we've brought in the last 2 or 3, 4 years as young draftees. They've had another pre-season. They've matured. They've got stronger, and they're all improving, I should say. Yeah. So once you look at that and go, well, if all we're going to do is win 1 or 2 more games on the back of that, something's missing. That's not quite enough to be satisfied as a supporter that we're on the right track. So I must admit, in the last, I've taken this loss really hard. I took the win against West Coast hard because I was concerned then that it just didn't feel like we'd moved ahead in the way we should have. Freo cheered me up. The Carlton game cheered me up a little bit, and I tried to delude myself that we're on the right track. And then the Hawthorn game, and I will put a caveat on this, the amount of times we slipped over because of having the wrong boots on almost made me feel like I may as well put a line through this game, because it's just like the players probably thought we've fucked this up so badly with the boots we're wearing. It's going to be hard to be competitive. I mean, I don't know how you can do that at this level, by the way.
No, I don't get that.
That was embarrassing. Players slipping over everywhere in the first 5 minutes of the game. Anyway, that wasn't good, so that probably didn't help. But you should never lose by that margin, ever. Right, that just should not happen, and we should be way past that as a club at the moment. But look, I think most supporters will be happy to just let this go as long as Thursday night delivers back to where we were against Carlton. If Thursday night's an absolute annihilation against the Bulldogs, then I reckon the club's going to have some problems.
Well, we've got a lot of injuries that are coming out of the game too, Mark. Luke McDonald is expected to miss this week at least.
Yeah.
Harry Sheasel looks like he's come through okay. No real serious concerns there.
His shoulder's all right.
Yeah. George Wardlaw, concussion, we just talked about. Jack Darling, at least 1 week out with a groin injury. Finn O'Sullivan.
That means Finbar's playing.
Oh, well, I don't know. You don't know. They got Callum Coleman-Jones as emergency. So,
that's right, yes.
Yeah. Finn O'Sullivan, a calf complaint. Parker has been sent in for scans on his body. I don't know what's going on there. Apparently he's getting banged up in the midriff. And Zach Fisher has hamstring awareness. I mean, this game couldn't have gone any worse with the injuries on top of it, Mark. There could be up to 6 changes by Thursday.
You know what? Half of those bother me, the other half don't, and I won't.
I agree. Yeah.
I won't go into who does and who doesn't, but I think they need to make changes. I think they're. I think it's good that Clarko backs the players in that he's decided are the right ones going forward. But we gave Harvey. What's the point of giving Harvey a 12-month extension, which was fix your problems or else, or you're out. And then he's best on ground every week in the VFL, probably leading the best and fairest in the VFL, and then not give him a game. Same with Phillips. Like, how many games are these guys going to dominate at VFL level without getting a game in the seniors? So this is the perfect chance to give those guys a run at it. I don't know if you plan to talk about Zane Duursma and the comments made on First Crack by Joe Montagna the other night that he's disgruntled and wants to go, and there's probably others like Eddie Ford and Phillips that are in a similar boat.
100% those players. I'm not sure about Zane Duursma, but those other two won't be at the club next year.
Well, so that's not good. And now you've got a public figure, Joe Montagna, saying, well, Zane Duursma's not in love with the club, and also said North's not in love with him. So that sounds like they've got 3 players that won't be at the club, 2 of which were top 3 picks. So that is catastrophic in a rebuild to have 2 number 3 picks that are gone within a few years. And I can guarantee you, we're not getting pick 3 back.
No,
we're not getting. We'll be lucky to get first round or end of first round back. So that can. And people want to talk about Clarkson's rebuild at Hawthorn. That wasn't happening at Hawthorn. That was Hodge. That was Buddy. That was Buddy. That was all the others. All the Roughhead. That was. They were all superstars that won premierships. They weren't being traded off for 3rd round picks, 2nd round picks. So if that's wrong, if we've stuffed that up that badly, anyone who thinks that won't be an issue for us is deluding themselves. That you can't get away with that. Unfortunately, the whole point of having a list management team is not the first 5 picks. It's for all the picks outside of that.
Yeah.
The first 5 picks are supposed to be the ones you can't fuck up. So
I wouldn't think so.
No. Well, but if you get 2 wrong in 2 years, and by the way, we need McKercher to be also re-signed as well. Like we've got a 4-year extension in front of him. If he doesn't sign that, that's an issue. So we're in danger of losing 3 of them right now. Until he re-signs, we won't know. And then you've got another one at the moment, through no fault of the club, that's got concussion issues. That's a lot of early picks that now are becoming a massive problem for the club. So without wanting to sound too panicked, we've got George, who's got concussion issues. We've got McKercher, who we're asking him to sign a 4-year extension, but has got Tasmania lurking. We've got Duursma, who doesn't want to be at the club, apparently.
Yeah.
And we've got Phillips, who was picked 3, who doesn't get a chance at the club and wants to leave. So that's 4. So that is not good in anybody's book, given the whole point of the rebuild was to get those selections, make the most of them, and then Clarko to do what he did at Hawthorn. So right now, at this point in time, it doesn't look like he's going to get the same opportunity. And that's why my greatest fear is we'll end up middle of the road with the other selections we've got through the generosity of the AFL, which I think a lot of them we're getting right. Like Hardiman off the halfback flank looks great.
Looks good. Yeah.
There's something to be positive about. Will Dawson, I know some people want to criticise him on the weekend. I think he looks like he's going to be a good player. Whitlock, I reckon, will be a good player, although he's played minimum games. Mally's like a good punt.
It reminds
and
me
I
a little
think
bit of a Drew Petrie at the moment.
he's a punt who looks like he's going to be a good player. So, like the stuff that Stevens from the Sydney Swans, Constantly from the Sydney Swans, they're looking good. Curtis has obviously been an absolute awesome result.
Yeah.
But you can't have picks 2, 3, 4, 4 over a couple of year period, get them all wrong and get away with it. That's going to hurt you. That's hurt Carlton. They've had some of their top 5 selections come off, top 10 selections come off. Some of them be a disaster, and then they've ended up with their biggest problem is their bottom 6 or 7 players aren't good enough for AFL level, and that's killed them.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. Like I was talking to you off air before and said, in the blue corner, you've got the North supporter going, it's all good. I've got faith. Clarko will bring us through. We're going to come out of this nightmare. In the other corner, you've got the others going, I don't know. Are we at Carlton or are we that Richmond in 2017 when everyone was panicking? And sorry, actually, not Richmond 2007, 2016 at the end of.
Yeah.
Where there was a run on the board and the supporters said, right, we've got to get rid of the coach. He's not good enough. Let's get rid of the board. Let's get Neil Baum on board to sack everyone. And Neil ended up saying, no, I'm on board with the people we got here. They stuck fat and they won 3 flags. Are we that team or are we Carlton where we think we're okay, we'll keep going for a bit longer, and then suddenly we'll keep sacking coaches and we'll end up going through a 20-year period where we just never get better? And I've got no idea, Dean. Right now, I've got zero idea. I cannot say definitively whether we'll be Carlton in 5 or 6 years where we look like we were going to come good and we didn't, whether we're a Brisbane who would look like we're there. At one point, Brisbane couldn't retain any of their young kids, and then suddenly they came good. Mm-hmm. Or like it's very, very hard to judge. And I must admit, I was ultra optimistic after Freo and Carlton, and I've lost that optimism this week.
Yeah, it's amazing how much 1 week can turn it all around again. So, do you think you mentioned a lot of young players that got drafted there? Is it a problem with drafting the wrong players, or is it a problem with development of the players? Because some people have said we're not developing these players at all. We're not giving them the best opportunity to thrive, which is probably fair enough. Or is it a problem of, just even drafting the wrong type of players?
Can I just say, I just think I got a message run across the top of my phone that Clarko's extended. He's just signed on to extend. Can you just check? Can you check that for me?
Oh, we'll check on that. But do you think there's a problem with how if we're drafting the right players, or is it a problem that we're not developing these players?
I think both.
Yeah.
I would go more with. I think this obsession with in the last 24 months, in particular, we're not going to draft needs. We're going to draft based on who's the best player. Now, I don't look. I'll be honest, I'm in love with Finn O'Sullivan as a player, so I don't really care who we didn't take beyond him. I think he will be a superstar for the club. I think the year before where we had McKercher and Dersma there, we had options. I think not taking Watson was a bizarre decision given that was the most obvious need in the club that we'd probably had for years. And we're still searching, like we're desperately searching for someone at that level with Constantly and other guys. So I think the Dersma decision was a strange one, given we had tools, the need for tools and the need for smalls, and still went for a mid-sized player. When we had Zurhaar and Eddie Ford playing in that role and both doing well in that role in the side already, I thought that was one of the strangest things I'd ever seen from that perspective. So. I don't know. Look, to be honest, it's easy in hindsight to go, oh, why didn't we take him, or him? I was very happy with Sheasel and Wardlaw. I'm very happy with, obviously, with Curtis. I'm very happy with Whitlock. I think Will Dawson will be a great player at the club over time. I think Goad will be a great player over time. So they've made some good decisions. I think the early decisions they've got it wrong by just going, it's almost like whatever the overall position is on those players, we'll just go with that. And I'm not sure whether if they re-sign McKercher, I'll put a tick next to that. If they don't re-sign McKercher, I'm going to ask some questions around how. Well, you knew he was going to Tasmania. You had to be absolutely certain he would re-sign before you put him into our club. Like, otherwise, if he doesn't re-sign, then that's a sackable offence, in my opinion. Because you had to have got that right. Like, if you put McKercher into the team and he goes to Tasmania when you picked him up knowing Tasmania was coming in, that's unforgivable. That's embarrassing that you could be so stupid. So you either had to, he's either the best liar in the world and he convinced you and you fell for it, or you're just an absolute twit who didn't even bother to do your, ask the right questions. Same with Dersma. Like, you've gone with Dersma knowing we had Cam Zurhaar and about to re-sign him for 5 years. And then you've got to go, well, what position is he going to play in the side?
Hmm.
And if you can't fit him into the side, what are you doing picking him up just because he's the third best player when the fourth or fifth best player fitted our positional needs? So I'm finding it hard to get my head around that at the moment. That is the one draft I'm very confused by. But, yeah, I'm not in the club. I'm not an expert. I'm looking at it from the outside confused. But, yeah, I'm happy to wait and see and be proved wrong. And that would be great if I could be.
Yeah, and I think the club have butchered some players' careers, and they won't get value for investment. Will Phillips, we've talked about him to death. Probably won't. Yeah, he'll probably play the next few weeks because Wardlaw's out. But if I was him, I think he needs to be selfish and think about that, because once that midfield is fully fit, then he goes out again. So he's got to look for another opportunity where he's going to get a career out of AFL football. He's not going to get that at North Melbourne with the amount of midfielders we've got. Eddie Ford, he won't play forward, and he had good value last year. Still the best 22 player. We've talked about Dersma. Joey Montagna has come out and said he's not happy. The club aren't happy with him. He's not going to get a game unless Curtis or Zurhaar are injured, because you've got the tools as well.
I mean, it's just bizarre. Yeah. So you're talking about Eddie Ford plays the same position as Dersma. Like, it's embarrassing. How do they not understand the players they had at the club? Like,
and Braden George as well.
Curtis when was Curtis and Zurhaar going to be taken out of the side to fit those two in? It's just bizarre. Like, how do you not understand that that's not the right fit? Anyway.
No, look, we can go. We can talk about this to death, but I think look, this axe is going to have to fall somewhere. Not winning 19 games out of your last 122 is not good enough. It's time for a new recruiting team. I've said that for the last few weeks now. I think Rawlings had enough opportunities. He's overpaid for average players, given them long-term contracts, given away high draft picks, and his drafting has been basically on the back of Cal Toomey in what he's done on his draft board in the last few years. So, he's hit on some. I think he did okay. We are re-signing Tristan Cherry, who wants to go to St Kilda. Probably more lucky than anything, to be honest with you there. And maybe a couple others he's hit on. Paul Curtis found value in him late. But, even last year, like that trade with Richmond was just absolutely ignorance. It was pick 27.
Well, compare him to Geelong.
Oh, it's not even close.
It's so laughable given their opportunities versus ours at the bottom of the ladder versus the top of the ladder. It's like they're almost beating us anyway, just on recruitment.
Yeah. What do you make? Now, while we're talking about young kids, Will Dawson. Now he struggled, but he grew into the game. It wasn't the worst. They've got to stop stuffing around with him and give him a position to settle in. In the reserves. He's been playing forward. He's been playing ruck and a little bit in the back.
Well, I said last week, I knew what was about to happen. As soon as they put him back, I said to you, they put him back as they knew they shouldn't be playing Comben, and they knew he would only last a week and they'd have to pull him out, so they played him back. I mean, that in itself is like, what are you doing? Like, why did Comben play when he was clearly injured against Carlton? That week, they moved Will Dawson from forward to back, knowing that was going to happen. that Comben wouldn't play the following week, and then Will Dawson would have to come in. I mean, I just find that absolutely bizarre in itself. But I totally agree with you. Will Dawson is a good footballer. He's a 200 centimetre player, though, and they need some time to develop. So I'd give him absolutely. Well, I'd give him a couple of weeks. I wouldn't be rushing Comben back because he's
no, he's underdone. His shoulders in.
Don't force him to play hurt again. Like, give him another week, please.
Look, and let Will Dawson. He was drafted as a defender, so maybe just let him learn that craft before you start playing him everywhere.
I think personally, watching him play, he looks like a natural forward to me. He looks very confident as a forward. I think that's where he'll end up. But I think he'd be good at either end. But he looks, as a forward, he's very attacking. The way he attacks the marking, I think he's got real potential. But anyway, I think he can play at either end. But yeah, like, let the kid get a chance. But there's been some supporters critical of his performance. No one would play well with the way the ball was coming in, like, on the weekend. Like, impossible.
The back line was ordinary, Mark. We can't.
Yes,
let them off.
Agreed.
Yeah, Toby Pink struggled pretty badly. Gunston kicked 7 goals, career high at the right young age of 33. Mark, he was almost washed. He was washed a year ago.
Yeah, Chol and him kicked 12 goals between them. I mean,
you made Chol look like all Australians. So it was like watching Kerry Longmire back in the 90s. These two, they just tore us to shreds. So we can't let them pass. Every time the ball came in, Griffin Lowe did not get a body on his direct.
I don't think he should play this week. So I think you're quite right. Will Dawson stays in the side. I reckon he goes out.
Well, we've got issues because they've got Sam Darcy, a big tall forward. I don't think we've got a matchup for him, to be honest.
Will Dawson has to play on Darcy.
Yeah, I don't know how we would go, but I don't know if that's a good thing, Mark, because
at least he's got a big leap and he's tall. Yeah. Not as tall, but he's tall.
Yeah,
Logue will just be punching the back of his ass. It'll be a waste of time.
Yeah, what do you make of Griffin Logue? He's been okay since he's come back in the team last couple of weeks, and then on the weekend he was just back to his.
Yeah, I don't like his. I'm not a big fan of his attitude. I don't think he thought he should have been dropped. I don't think he's. And I just. Anyway, I'm not going to get in. I'm not going to be too critical, but.
You may as well be. They lost by 15 goals, Mark, so that's what we're here for, to be critical.
When they interview him around the club, the sarcasm's starting to annoy me a bit, but like, I don't know him. I'm not going to, like, that just might be the way he is, but he's a big supporter of Luke Mack, which I like, but yeah, I don't think he's going to be the man to take Darcy this week. There is no way that that's the right matchup. It needs... No. He's not.
I don't know who he plays on either. If it's not,
he'll be lucky. He'll be lucky to. His fists will be lucky to reach his shoulder. Like, forget it. At least Dawson's got a big leap, and he's a big boy, and he's strong, and he'll have a crack. I'd rather, like, Comben's the right guy to play on Darcy, but I don't want Comben playing if his body's not right. I'd rather Will Dawson play on him. He might get beaten really badly, but it'll be a good lesson for him. That's fine. Like. The midfielders are going to take responsibility, and the other guys in defence to help whoever's down there against him. It can't be about one-on-one. That's not going to work.
Now, we've drafted a lot of midfielders. How have you seen the midfield this year? Do you think, as far as league goes, do you think it's in the top half of the midfielders in the competition, or do you think it's in the bottom half?
Midfielders overall?
Yeah, because I don't know where they're at. Like, one week they're world beaters, and we think, oh, geez, we've got all these midfielders. Then you see a performance like the first time, Good Friday against Carlton, completely obliterated, and then on the weekend against Hawthorn, completely obliterated. I mean, that goal from was it Nick Watson through the middle, where no one laid a finger on him. He did whatever he wanted. I mean, that's as poor as it gets. No body checking or nothing on that. It's strange. I don't know where they're at as well, Mark.
Well, and you could say that about it was similar as in the West Coast game. You could say, if we'd lost the West Coast game, which could easily have happened, we would have. There would have been absolute. This is a catastrophic situation. going on, and we probably wouldn't have played well then against Freo. And so things got the band-aid got put on after that game. I felt because I thought that was really a disaster. The West Coast game, I was very upset about that. As in, we come out after the bye, and it was the lack of method, waiting till the last 10 minutes of the game when we had nothing else to lose that we finally moved the ball properly. And then I think Voss is going through the same thing with Carlton at the moment. Like, it's not till the game's long gone that they start moving the ball quickly and doing all that sort of stuff. Which we can keep saying that the relationship between coach and players is so strong at North. But why is it that it takes us for the game to be gone before we ever move the ball aggressively? Like, that's been the problem all year.
Mm.
So I don't know. In terms of your question about the midfield, I think when they're on top, we're flat track. I'm not going to call us flat track bullies. That's a bit harsh. But when things are going well, we're great. When things are not going well, we seem to go into our shell.
That's the thing. It's been the same the last 5 years, Mark. When teams get a run on, we can't stop it, can we, Mark? And it doesn't last for 5-10 minutes. It seems to last for 2 or 3 quarters, or sometimes even a whole game.
It's a 40-minute issue, and that's been the problem for a while. And I think the supporters are split or frustrated because half of us are now going, "Yep, I'm confident we're improving," and the other half are going, "Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm seeing little bits of improvement. We've brought these older blokes in. There's enough talent in the side now for us to win 4 or 5 games. That will happen anyway."
Yeah.
But to win 10, 12 games, there's got to be a complete change of method and everything else. Clarko's talked about it's going to change quick and then it'll be like Brisbane and we'll get to 15 games overnight. Look, I want to be wrong, but I'm not seeing anything that suggests that's about to happen. And I must admit, I got sucked in by the Carlton 2 quarters last week and thought maybe I've been wrong. We're about to explode. Here we go. And I'm very flat this week. I'm just going. I'm not sure. I'm not happy with the recruitment team. I'm not happy with list management. I'm not happy with the development. I'm not happy with the strategy. I'm sort of frustrated with everything because I can't. And it might just be that it's just like a few inches away, and it's like that saying. I don't know who it was. It talks about you try and knock through to get to goal, and about the guy that gives up when he was 1 inch from gold and he walks away and thinks, "Oh, we're never going to get there," and never knows that he was only one punch away from getting through and hitting gold. So I keep hoping that's the case, but I'm waiting for that one knock through, and this is going to be the game that changes everything. And I thought the Carlton game might be the way, and the club spent the whole week media-wise telling us everything had changed. And I think that was the hardest part to swallow was if you go on, as Dennis Pagan would call it, Media Street, and tell everyone we've changed defensively, the days of us losing to Hawthorn by 120 points plus are gone and blah, blah. Admittedly, they didn't lose by that much, but then you turn on exactly the same performance you did in the last round of the previous year. That's a pretty deflating thing for as a supporter. That was one of the worst things I've seen in a long time, and I turned it off at half time. I didn't even. To be honest with you, I can't comment on the last half because I didn't watch it.
And you've probably seen enough, Mark. You've seen enough. So
I've seen enough, and I don't think I'm alone in that. And I don't want to look. It's not a personal attack on players or coach or whatever else. I don't know what the missing link is, but at the moment, we're still not quite there. And I think we probably have to be cautious about deluding ourselves we're closer than we are. But maybe not. Maybe we'll see Thursday night and we'll come out and we'll beat the Bulldogs and then we'll go everything's fine. But I think even if that happened, that still wouldn't satisfy me. I think we need to see 3 or 4 wins on the trot. And we need to see a game plan where we lose the midfield battle but still win a match before I start believing we're on the long term. My concern is if we don't smash them contested footy, we get smashed. And that's been the case for a few years, but it's even worse now. It's like, well, we destroyed Carlton for 2 quarters in the middle. They got on top in the last quarter. didn't touch the ball again. So it's we have to be so far on top of it. Like if you're a midfielder at North, that would be a lot of pressure. Unless you're dominating, the whole team falls apart. That's not great either. Like we need to have a turnover game. Like at the biggest criticism outside of the club about North right now is we are 18th for turnover in turnover game. And Clarko would turn around and say, well, unfortunately, I haven't been able to do much about that because our defensive efforts was so poor in the first 5 or 6 weeks. I had to stop looking at anything else and just focus on that. But my question is, after 3 years, why has it taken 3 years for that to be sorted? We can't even get to a turnover game yet. We're in year 4, mate. Coming up next year, so I think we'll talk about the Hawthorn Racing saga, and that's held us back and everything else.
It's been a long time though. You can't use that.
By next year we're into year 4. So year 4, back end of year 4, we are now looking like a top 8 side by the end of next year, or he'll be gone. That's the reality. So that'll come quickly. Like he'll see through his 5th year, but he'll only see through half of it. If we're in 2 years' time we're where we are now, he'll be gone. Like it'll be. So will most of the board. So will the president. So will the vice president. So will the CEO. They'll all be gone. There's only so much failure you can tolerate, and I think stability's been a good thing. And I think I'm prepared to wear the fact. I'll just suck on the fact we're just going to keep failing for a bit longer, and hope we're Richmond 2016. But there'll be a point where everyone will stop believing that, and then it'll be, okay, what are we going to do? So, because you can only do it for so long, but it is an interesting argument to go, how close was Richmond after he'd been there? How long had Dimmer been at Richmond? Probably 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
When they tried to overthrow the board, there was an attempt to overthrow the board, bring in a new coach, and they won the flag the next year. And that is the one thing I keep asking myself, are we there, or are we about to be there? Or, like, if we fuck this up now, are we going to end up blowing that and end up like Carlton, where it's a 20-year rebuild? Are we better off just sticking with stability, keep sticking with it, and hope that Clarko at 56 years of age is a better coach than he was at 46 years of age, which there is no reason he shouldn't be.
Yeah.
So that's common sense. But that doesn't excuse the list management team. And I think they still, if they keep just saying everyone's doing a great job no matter what for the sake of stability, I'll start to get my ability just to believe in everyone's going to be, that's a bit hard to, it's hard to believe that everyone's doing a great job no matter what. I think in any organisation that's not true. There's always people not doing their job to a level that they should be, and they need to be replaced. And I think list management's one area they have to look at. No. But I would hope Clarko, at the age of 56, is better than he was at 46. So let's just, while the players believe that he's the man, and they keep saying he's building relationships, they believe in his game plan, then they know better than me. I agree with that. But there's areas that are a concern. And, yeah, like I think before now and the end of the year, we need to see some improvement with method. And then I want to understand where the strategy is going with the list management, because at the moment it's just a mess.
No, there's players everywhere and anywhere at the moment. We seem to have just drafted midfielders and half forwards.
And half backs.
Yeah, well, we've run out of half-backs because they're all injured at the moment. So
yeah. There's plenty of them though. Bergman, Archer, Gota. There's half-backs and half forwards galore.
Yeah. Seems to be an ongoing issue. So, yeah, we won't add anything more to this game. It was just a shambles. There's no point talking about it. We were just going around in circles. I mean, how do we respond though, Mark? We've got the anniversary coming up on Thursday. That's been a bit of a shambles too, Mark. We might as well talk about that.
I'm laughing because it looks like I've either bored you or depressed you into an absolute into a point where you just go, where can I go from here? Anyway, yes. The game against the Bulldogs. Absolutely. Look, if they win this game and we get a full house there, everything will be forgotten. All this depression, negativity that I'm spewing out at the last hour will be gone. But I think most supporters have got no expectation about this week at all.
No.
To be fair, look, if we're competitive this week, that'll be a step forward.
Yeah, look, it's going to be tough. The Bulldogs are on fire. I think they're third favourites for the premiership this year. And if they can get it right in September, they probably would win it.
Yeah,
there's a lot of
look, Darcy could just destroy everyone in the finals. I mean, he's the hardest matchup in the AFL at the moment by a mile.
No, you can't match up on him with those big long hands of his. I don't know what his standing reach is, but it would be.
Well, he's good. He's good on the ground. I mean, he's a freak. Right. Yeah, he's a freak.
Below the knees as well. They got Marcus Bontempelli didn't even play against us last time as well. So
for us old blokes who can remember the mid-'80s when Paul Salmon first arrived, that's when Paul Salmon kicked 70 goals in the first 10 or 11 games of the season. That's what in those days they didn't have people flooding back and all that stuff. That's what Darcy's like. Like, if he was playing in the mid-'80s, he'd be a chance to kick 150 goals. Like, he's a freak.
Yeah, he was. He was very tall. The old fish. He kicked the bag on us a few times. He was a very hard matchup.
Sorry, can I ask? Have you checked? Has there been a re-signing of the coach?
I haven't. I didn't see anything of that.
Okay.
Mark, so he was on AFL 360 tonight. So I'll probably. There was a few questions. There, but I don't know much about it. So
okay.
I will probably see a replay of that. But yeah, look, I mean, just on this week, there's been a lot of talk about the 100-year celebration and how the club have handled it. There's been ex-players because the 1975 premiership has coincided with the 50-year celebration. A few players aren't happy, in particular Sam Kekovich. Now, I thought it was really poorly written article by the Herald Sun saying he didn't want to do it with the AFLW team, celebrate with them. That had nothing to do with it. He said they didn't contact him till a couple of months ago, and it was just via a voicemail. And it was just you could have a pot and basically a drink.
A sausage roll and a pie.
Yeah, basically. And he sort of said, well, that's not good enough. So they offered him breakfast or something like that. Instead of their own little function, celebrating 50 years, the players can get together. I mean,
it was our effing first premiership, and as someone who grew up as a kid around, I was too young to go at that time, but I was there in 77 and 76. I cried my eyes out all the way home in 76 after we lost. Just for you, Frank, who got very upset that I made a joke about that poor kid who was crying in the TV the other day.
Oh, that's right, the Carlton supporter. Yeah.
But so I know what it's like to cry after a loss. But when you're that age, that's quite normal to do that. But anyway, I think it's disgraceful the 1975 team are made to feel that way. I don't think Sam Kekovich and John Burns have probably taken it too far, but I think most of the team are irritated by the club and the way they've handled this. And I think Sonia Hood needs to take responsibility. They could have, sausage rolls and pies and pasties is not good enough.
Yeah, I mean, these are gentlemen in their 70s, 80s. They're not going to be out all night and bleed the club dry. So
correct. Even if they did bleed them dry, let them bleed them dry.
Yeah,
it's our first premiership. That premiership was one of the most, probably the most important thing. It is the most important thing that's ever happened to that club.
Yeah.
My old man played for the team, and I know how he felt in 1975 when they won. He kept the record. I could still name every player in that team from that day. You can't underestimate how important that is to the history of the club. I just think I've got no issue whatsoever with celebrating the women's premiership from last year. I think it was an amazing achievement and awesome, but like that's got nothing to do with it. Like the 75 team, they're older. They don't need a stand up function. They need a sit down function. They need to be celebrated in a way that's slightly different, not better or worse, but different. And I think they've stuffed it up completely. And I don't buy into this whole we're too woke and all that sort of stuff. That's a basic way of looking at it. But I think the club has stuffed this up badly. I think even the most senior people that want Sam and John Burns to come along, they all agree it's been badly mishandled, but don't want it to turn into a disaster. But yeah, it's just disappointing. I think it's they've not handled it well at all, unfortunately. But there's nothing that can be done about it now. We've just got to make the best of it and hope we get a good crowd there.
Now, this is coming from Sam Kekovich. He talked about Alan Killigrew's words that he said. He goes, "What is disappointing is a lack of understanding from people at the helm of the event's significance. I'm not the only one who won't be going, but I won't be speaking on behalf of others." He said, the club should have gone to the AFL and asked for a Saturday afternoon game against Hawthorn at the MCG with a dinner that night. Is that too hard to organise? ? And every footballer who played a game that year should be invited, along with the families of the club legends such as Boot Stutter, Jimmy Cook, and property steward Ron House. So he just thinks the club have dismissed this. And yeah, it's obviously a bit, it's hit him hard. Sam Kekovich is very outspoken. I understand that. And he probably has gone a little bit too far, but it's just a bit disappointing that they haven't acknowledged these people that, like you sort of said, Mark, that played a big part, in the club's history 50 years ago and got us our first premiership.
Yeah, I don't think it's sexism. I think that's...
No, it's got nothing to do with that. He's even mentioned that.
I think it's disgraceful to just... I think that's... I don't know who's pushing that narrative, but I think that's ugly to do that. I think that's unfair. But, I'm disappointed that those guys have... To taint those people with a sexism branding them that way when that's not... They're upset about the fact they're not being respected.
Yeah,
got nothing.
That's what it comes down to.
They're not saying we don't care about the women's team that won the premiership. That's got nothing to do with it. I think that's completely unfair to do that. I think that's an easy way of describing it for people. Caroline Wilson again, just taking that avenue. I think that's disgraceful. Yeah. Anyway, I don't think there's any way. Like I think there's a lot of North supporters that are fed up. And this is the problem. Like, a lot of North supporters are already angry and calling them woke and this sort of thing. This adds to that. Yeah. And unfortunately, when you're upsetting and Malcolm Blight and other players have said, I agree with him. I'm still going to go, but I think I agree. It's been really poorly handled. Yeah. That's embarrassing for the club. The club should be ashamed of themselves that the 1975 team that won the first premiership for the club are disappointed with the way they've managed this. I think that should be looked at at some stage at the end of the year. They should look at that, and the way things are going generally, the way the club's being handled. If things don't change soon, they'll end up being changes. So I hope they get their act together soon. But yeah, that even Wayne Carey, who is normally goes too far, too over the top. He actually calmly said, "No, I think Sam should just come. I agree with what he's saying, but he should come anyway." Yeah. I think that's probably right. But at the end of the day, we want the club to come together on Thursday night. We don't want divisions in the club. I think.
Yeah. No, it doesn't get you far. Look, there's no point living like that. Not his age. No disrespect to his age. He's in his late 60s, almost 70 now. Sam. I mean, there's only so many years left in your lifetime. There's no point being angry and have hatred towards a club. The most important thing is you can catch up with people that are there and you can talk about the good times. I know the club haven't handled it well, but, you can't do much about it, unfortunately. So, you still got to make the most of the opportunity to catch up with these people because, there's nothing we'll have to wait and see what happens. And yeah, hopefully the club learns a lesson from this as well. That's the most important thing. And yeah, we can all move forward. Oh, well, Mark has left us, I think. He's had enough. He's with Sam Kekovich by the sounds of it. Unfortunately, Mark is gone. So yeah, I'll keep going anyway. I don't have much left. So I might as well talk about the reserves, who are brave for 3 quarters. Cooper Harvey playing in the back line will have to probably come into serious consideration this week. 24 possessions, gave some good drive out of the back line. I like the way he takes a game on. He's always trying to be proactive. I wasn't a fan of him going to the back line a few weeks ago, but it certainly has its advantages. And at the moment, we don't have anyone else there that can play a rebounding defender role or a mid-sized defender in the VFL. I mean, you got Daniel McPherson, who's not an AFL listed player, the only other one. So, yeah, he have to come into serious consideration this week, especially if Luke McDonald is out, which it sounds like he is. Bailey Scott played on the ball with Will Phillips going to the ones and being a match day emergency. He had 26 touches. Looked pretty good. He'll probably have to be a serious consideration this week as well. I think he'll come in. If there's a few injuries. Might even come in for George Wardlaw. They may look for a bit of outside run against Doggies. Who knows? Will Phillips might miss out again to the chagrin of a lot of supporters. Zane Dersma, the talked about Zane Dersma, 13 touches with 3 goals, 5 tackles, a couple of junk time goals at the end in the last quarter. So I don't know what's going on there. If the rumours are true, if he's unhappy, the club's unhappy with him. But look, he would certainly be up there as far as selection. Finbar Malley, 2 goals, 7 tackles. You'd have to think may come in for Darling, although CCJ was match day emergency, so it'll be one or the other. And Braden George, 2 goals as well. Cooper Trembath, 14 touches. I actually think he will debut soon. Looks very composed on the ball. Good set of hands as well. A bit funny with his kicking, but yeah, I don't mind the look of him. Looks like he could be a good intercept player. So, yeah, I think he'll be a good chance. And Zach Panch, a goal, and try and apply some defensive pressure. I think he'll debut at some point this year. He may come in this week. I'm not too sure. We've got a few injuries. So if Zach Fisher's out, I think he may come in for him. So, yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens. So, unfortunately, Mark, is not coming back. I'm not too sure what's happened there. So that will probably be it for me tonight. How long have I gone? I've gone 52 minutes. No one's coming to the chat. So, yeah, I'll probably be back on Wednesday this week. We'll preview the big game coming up against the Bulldogs. So hopefully we can bounce back. It's what's happened last week. It's about how we respond now. That's all you can do. I sound like a coach. So hopefully we can get ourselves up. It's a very short turnaround, 5 days. But you never know. I don't think we can win. I don't think realistically we can get fairly close to the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs are a different level to us at the moment. They had that halfback flanker that took it was a Caleb Daniels spot in the halfback line. Playing defence. He looks really good too. He's got the mustache. I can't even remember his name now. So, yeah, he looks pretty good. Fraser, they're finding all this young talent. So, yeah, full credit to them. They look like they'll be right up there at the end of the year. Although they are 8th on the ladder, so you never know. Anyways, that's it from me. Don't forget, like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell your friends about the show. Do what you can to help the show grow. That's it. Anyways, I've talked enough shit. I'm a bit lost without Mark now, so I'll leave it at that. So bye for now and go Roos.